All it takes is one look, and you're off. You might not be particularly tired, you might not be particularly bored, but when you see someone yawn, your natural instinct is often to do the same. It's hard not to, right? But why do we yawn in the first place? What goes on in our heads to make us yawn, and is this phenomenon really contagious? So what happens when we yawn? It all starts in the hypothalamus, the part of our brain responsible for regulating hormones and body temperature, the hormone hub. When we need to yawn, the hypothalamus releases cortisol to our motor cortex, causing the physical process of the yawn, the widening of the mouth, the deep inhale, and, at times, gesticulations of the arms.
So, why do we yawn? A commonly held theory is that when carbon dioxide levels are high in the bloodstream, we yawn to increase oxygen. Ah, who are you?
Actually, Marco, you'll find that this theory has been widely debunked. Many recent studies have found no tangible links between yawning and oxygen levels in the blood. Neither an introduction of more oxygen nor a reduction of carbon dioxide levels in the bloodstream have led to a decrease in yawning.
My life's work ruined.
As you mentioned earlier, yawning has been linked to the levels of hormone cortisol in the brain. Cortisol is principally associated with the protection of the immune system and the regulation of stress. It is also responsible for controlling, namely lowering, and the temperature of the brain. When we are tired or stressed, our brain heats up. Thus, the hypothalamus releases cortisol to lower and regulate brain temperature, which in causes us to yawn. Tests where the fatigue was introduced to healthy test subjects led to an increase in cortisol levels and noticeable activity in the hypothalamus and motor cortex. These theories and their associated evidence form the Thomson-Cortisol hypothesis, which ties yawning together with levels of cortisol and the associated fatigue and stress.
Okay, smarty pants. So why, when we see someone else yawn, do we feel the same urge? Most theorists are now in agreement that contagious yawning is related to empathy. When we see someone else yawn, or even hear or read about yawning, we mimic their response because, as humans, we empathize with how they are feeling. Studies have shown that the closer someone is to another person, ranging from stranger to friend to family member, the more likely their yawn is to be contagious to us.
During these studies, the part of the brain related to self-reference show an increase in activity. Essentially, these parts of the brain are key to how we understand ourselves in the world and our relation to other people.
In related tests, children with autism spectrum disorders who have trouble empathizing with others have a significantly reduced response to yawning and to the activation of these areas of the brain. Another related theory is that yawning is part of social mimicry. When we see someone else yawn, our body tells us to yawn to synchronize our movement with that of others. This way, we learn how to act in a similar way to that of our social peers.
This process is achieved through mirror neurons. When you see someone else doing an action, you activate the same neurons in your brain that activates when you actually do that action. That way, your brain learns the neuron pathways to commit that action without having to actually see it when it happens.
There is no solid evidence that mirror neurons are directly related to contagious yawning, but we do know that they help foster an empathetic relationship between people through this mimicry. It's all well and good to understand why we yawn, but ultimately, why does it matter?
I'm pleased you asked. You'll remember earlier as we discussed about the hypothalamus using cortisol to communicate with the motor cortex, which in turn causes involuntary yawning. Well, studies of victims of strokes and multiple sclerosis have shown that when engaging in excessive yawning, their otherwise paralyzed side of the body has registered movement.
So you're telling me when they yawn, they involuntarily raise an arm they otherwise can't?
Exactly. This is important as it suggests that communication with the motor cortex may be less linked to our actual neuron pathways and instead linked to our hormone systems, which could provide us with critical information on victims of strokes and paralysis, eventually leading to aiding their recovery.
Wow, very interesting, Doctor.
Exactly.
That guy was starting to bore me.